evening, everyone, and welcome to Pillar 2 of the AIB Advisory Board meeting. We are so excited to have you here today. We have an interesting topic to discuss, and we have a wide variety of local LEAs here to share as well. My name is Patricia Twitty, and I serve as the chair of Pillar 2, and I will pass it over to John. It's nice to see you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. So my name is John Silkey. I am currently a math teacher at North Bethesda Middle School and have been on the Pillar 2 committee for I think 3 or 4 years. It's been a while. So excited to be able to make this meeting and talk about the great topic we have. I am going to pass it off to Rob.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rob Willoughby, Director of Administrative Services for Caroline County Public Schools. This is my second year on the Pillar 2 Advisory Committee, and I oversee HR, new teacher induction, mentorship, MBC, all things Pillar 2 at CCPS. And I will pass it over to, I thought I saw Justin was on there. Justin.
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening, everyone. I'm Justin Robinson. I'm the board member that supports Pillar 2 primarily. I'm from the AIB. In my real life, I am a numeracy coach in Prince George's County Public Schools, but I also teach one class of grade 8 mathematics every day. And I will pass it on to Obianaju.
Hi, my name is Ubanju Umba. I'm the student member on Pillar 2, and I'll pass it on to Livy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Libby Diamond. I am the policy analyst for Pillar 2 with the AIB, and I'm excited to be here.
All right. So tonight's topic is all around the career ladder and some of the pilots and implementation. And so one of the pieces that the committee really wanted to hear was from larger counties, from smaller counties, and from counties kind of in between to see how various counties are implementing or piloting the career ladder level 4. So this evening, we have our own member from Caroline County. Rob is on. If you want to say, well, you already said hello, but if you want to say hello again.
All right. So again, thanks for everybody for being here tonight so we can talk through what these pilots are looking like. And so I'm excited to share what we're doing in Caroline County. We have a very small pilot. We have one Tier 4 lead teacher in one of our high schools. So it's a very limited pilot, but I kind of want to walk through kind of how we got there and then what we've seen so far this year as we've gotten to the halfway point and what we've learned and what we've gained from it. So as a little bit of background, just for some folks that might not be familiar, Caroline County, right smack dab in the middle of the Eastern Shore, the only shore county without any shore or landlocked. And so, we have 9 schools and a tech center. And in every one of our schools, we have positions that are non-teaching positions, but we have in every school in the elementary school, we call them a reading resource teacher, and a math resource teacher. In the secondary schools, we call them a literacy coach and a math coach. But these are coaching positions that do not have classes assigned to them, that are there to coach teachers, to help with curriculum implementation. And one of the biggest things that came up when we're planning for the career ladder and how we're going to implement it is, okay, these are teaching positions, but they don't have classes assigned to them. They don't meet the definition of teacher because they don't teach 60% of their day. What does this look like as we sort of try to transition? So we had an interesting situation over the summer. One of those literacy coach positions became vacant. And we had a very, very, very strong candidate for that position who was an MBCT. And so what we talked through was the idea of, can we take one of those coaching positions and can we evolve it to become a Tier 4? lead teacher. There was already a lot of congruency between job descriptions. They were already coaching teachers. They were already delivering PD. They were already doing these things. What they weren't doing was actually being assigned to a class. And so the pilot allowed us to not have to jump right in and say, okay, these positions are now going to teach 50% of their time. It allowed us to rethink, how do we use this position and how do we assign it to at least one class per semester? But we really keyed in on the idea that this could be a co-teaching assignment, or this could be an assignment where they're still the teacher of record, but they're maybe teaching a very targeted intervention or something like that. And so we went through the hiring process. We posted the position, and we were able to hire this person into the position and get them started. We did negotiate into our teacher negotiated agreement that any tier 4 positions in Caroline County would be 11-month positions. So instead of working our 190 days that our teachers work, this position works 210 days. So you've got an extra 20 days over the summer to work with school-based leadership, to work with our English language arts and reading supervisor. Like I said, to deliver that PD and to welcome teachers back and then to hit the ground running. What we have found was we did assign this teacher to a small group intervention. And also we have an assignment for her that is involving co-teaching with a newer non-tenured teacher. She also is coaching teachers, which is what that position traditionally had done, but really coaching them in a authentic way, meeting with them on a regular schedule, having the freedom to go into the classroom, being able to really look at curriculum implementation. We are in a pilot year for our ELA curriculum at the high school, and so really being able to get that data and look at how that implementation is going. And what we have found as we have done this is what an opportunity it gives us. Our story might be a little bit different in that we are taking a position that did not teach, and we are gaining teaching time out of it. So in some counties, I fully understand these are positions that taught a full course load, and now you're kind of stair-stepping them down. But our experience was the opposite. We were able to take a position that didn't have any teaching time assigned to it at all and gain that. But in doing so, really think about it thoughtfully. If this is someone who is one of our best, then how do we get them in front of our students that might really need tier 3 intervention, might really need that extra assistance? How do we get them to where they are with our new teachers, our non-tenured teachers, a teacher that's just starting out, and kind of teaching side by side? So kind of live mentoring every single day in a co-teaching experience, where really that classroom almost becomes a laboratory. That's what we've been able to sort of see from it. From that as well, because that person is in the classroom, because that person is actively working with teachers, they also have credibility. And so they're part of the administrative team per se for some parts of those meetings. Obviously, they're not evaluative or anything like that, but they're part of the leadership team meetings that happen every single week. They're talking about students. They know the students richly, deeply, and well. They can speak to their data. They can speak to how they're doing. And then they can also speak to, this teacher might need a little bit of help here. Let me go talk to that teacher. And it's the coach going and talking. It's the lead teacher going and talking, and not the administrator going and talking. And so what our administrators from our high school have reported is that they have really been able to experience kind of what we feel was maybe the intention of these positions, which is to sort of be able to delegate some roles and some tasks to that lead teacher and be able to take some things off of their plate. It's not that they don't get done, it's just that they're getting done differently. But it's really been something that we've been able to look at and really have a lot of success with. We've talked about the idea, if we ever need to pilot a curriculum again, does the lead teacher become the classroom that is the pilot classroom, and then other teachers can push in and see what that looks like? How else do we use this opportunity that we have to try to do some new things and think about it differently? If we've got a brand new teacher, like I said, that one-to-one co-teaching, just to try to make sure that they're getting the support that they need. So it has been very successful. Our lead teacher in the position is very happy with how it's gone. Our supervisor for English language arts is very happy. Our leadership team at the school is ecstatic about how it's happening. We actually, of our 8, we only have 4 secondary schools. So of our 8 coaching positions, obviously this one was a lead teacher. We had another one of our coaches achieve national board this past December. So we'll be looking at potentially transitioning another one of those positions, this time a middle school math coach to Tier 4. And then we do have an opening due to a retirement for an elementary math coach. And so we're having those discussions now. So we're looking to expand it, but we have really seen a lot of success and a lot of, like I said, some of the things that we think really were intended, like the ability for administration to delegate down, the ability for teachers to take on that leadership role, to do so with credibility and authenticity, and to really be in front of our kids that need them the most and be in front of our staff that need them the most. So it's been a very rewarding experience thus far. Small, like I said, small pilot, one person, one high school, but that's been our experience thus far.
Thank you, Rob, in Caroline County. We're going to go just kind of sort of next door to Dorchester County with Mr. Michael Collins.
Hi, welcome everybody. Thanks for having us. So just like Rob and Caroline, we started with one teacher at our middle school, and we took a slightly different approach. We actually are going to present a little teeny slide PowerPoint to you. We actually have our lead teacher here. So let me introduce my team really quick. We have Dr. Jody Coleman, who is our Assistant Superintendent of Academics and Student Services. We have actually Linda Barnes, who is the Assistant Principal at North Dorchester Middle School. And then who's going to present most of it is our lead teacher, Heidi Cahoon. So Jody, thank you for sharing our screen. And I'm going to turn over to Heidi, who's going to talk from the lead teacher lens and perspective. And then after she's finished, Linda Barnes, the assistant principal, will talk a little bit about the impact that lead teachers had at Indian Middle. And then from there, we're happy to answer any questions. So Heidi, proceed, please.
Or speak this evening. And I just have a few updates about being in this neat pilot position this year. First, I would like to share my schedule with you each day on the second slide. You can see that it's kind of varied, and you can see where I have I co-teach with an experienced special educator for English 8. And I also teach a gifted and talented ELA 8 class. And I spend also time during my day, as you can see by the schedule, working with and mentoring new teachers. I previously was a literacy coach, so it's been really nice to infuse some of those strategies and part of those duties within this position. And where you see the asterisk, that's subject to change on where a teacher might want me in the room with them that a different period that day to help with management strategies, modeling a lesson, co-teaching a lesson, and so forth. I also spend one period a day co-planning with a new English teacher who joined us about 2 to 3 weeks after the school year started. So she kind of came in the middle of there. So it's nice to kind of back map and plan with her every day when it's feasible. Some great wins this year that I've been enjoying are mentoring the new teachers and establishing great rapport and relationships with them. co-teaching and modeling lessons with new teachers, offering a model classroom that any teacher or staff member can come in and observe with either of my 2 classes that I teach. I have been facilitating the ELA PLCs. I've been providing one-to-one assistance with teachers of all subject areas who are pursuing their NBC this year. Co-facilitating monthly NBC meetings, and then also teaching my wonderful 2 classes of students whom I love so much, who are very different, and I love differentiating for each individual student. I have 19 students in each class, so I have 38 students. My first year teacher mentees wanted to share a couple blurbs about me and being able to work with me every single day. So if you'd like to take a look at that, please feel free. And then on the next slide, I work with as many NBC candidates who would like the one-on-one assistance, but these are the 3 that I work the most with. And one is at my school, and 2 are at the neighboring high school at North Dorchester High, and they wanted to share a little bit of their experience having me accessible when they need me. If you'd like to look at those, feel free. On the next slide, I would like to share some realistic barriers that have occurred this year with the pilot. Unfortunately, I've had to substitute classes due to substitutes and people that are out. There's sometimes conflicting schedules when a mentee wants to work with me, and that isn't possible with what is happening during the day. I have noticed a big barrier of experienced teachers who are very apprehensive with working with me. Even though I've taught English in the county since 1994, I am new to this school this year, so that could be part of the reason, I'm not sure, but I continue to reach out whenever possible. I do have at least 2, usually 3 late nights per week at school to get my personal planning done, because I will give up my planning to go in and help one of my mentees or someone who needs to help when they need it, because we have built such great rapport with me here with them every single day. And so I do have to spend a lot of time differentiating to my 2 extreme population of students. And we're also working on my data analysis as I become even more cautious and more involved with data in my position, especially after earning my NBC, and just showing how well it is to know my students as well as I do. So those are just a few barriers that I wanted to share as well. Plans after talking with my administrators and with my supervisors for next year is to continue in this position, which I'm thrilled about. And I will continue to mentor new and second year teachers, mentor NBC candidates, facilitate monthly NBC meetings, facilitate collaborative planning, and PLCs, which we have every other Monday after school. And I also plan to teach pre-AP English 8. I was an AP teacher, AP English teacher for 20 years prior to this position, and then also to co-teach a special ed ELA group of students. Thank you so much tonight for letting me share, and I believe my assistant principal, Ms. Barnes, would like to talk with you all.
Yeah, thanks,
Good
Heidi.
evening. Oh, good evening. Thanks for having us this evening and looking to our input. It's actually interesting for me because Heidi actually was my mentor teacher as a first-year teacher, so it's kind of cool to see it come full circle. As an administrator, it's really amazing. Pardon me, my cat is trying to get involved. It's really interesting to see through her lens of looking through data, and she's such a huge help to the admin team. Having only 2 assistant principals and 1 principal, it's really kind of hard for us to really kind of focus on the instructional component. So she's a great support in that area, especially if we get bogged down with discipline. I echo all of the barriers that she had. As an administrator, we did have some obstacles with scheduling because unlike Rob and Caroline, Heidi actually took one of our full-time positions and we didn't really have a literacy coach prior to that. So we were pretty much down 3/4 of a relay teacher. So our class sizes are a little big right now. That's something that we're really looking forward to next year with a new schedule to be able to level the playing field while keeping her classes the same. Heidi also serves on our MTSS team. So she's very vital. And when we're looking at tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, and even really supporting our tier 1 instruction across the school. She also serves on our SIT team. So she's an amazing wealth of knowledge for that when it comes in context for when we're looking at data for our relay goals. And then last but not least, we're paying off on the observations. When we look at our observations, the teachers that she's mentoring are all conditionally certified teachers. They're right out of either trade or out of school with no teaching experience. And we do really see the payback and the payoff in the observational process. And actually, one of her mentees, Miss Mills, is our first class teacher of the year finalist. So she will be competing at the Dorchester level. And it's really interesting that they're looking at things through an analytical component as opposed to I'm just trying to survive and get lesson plans and teach. So I'm really looking at moving those students. So we are beyond excited to see Heidi continue in this role and just watching our kids grow because they have under her leadership.
Thank you, Linda. And then Dr. Jody Coleman, any words for the team?
The only thing I wanted to just elaborate on was the fact that Heidi is actually teaching a GT group. And the reason we chose that was very data intentional. We had some students who were not growing, our gifted and talented were not growing at that middle school level. And we also were having trouble getting students prepared for AP classes when they went to the high school. Kids were not going into those classes. In fact, we were having to cancel several of them in our high school program of study and schedules. So we've made an intentional decision to try to increase our AP pathway and start at the middle school level. So these students would be ready for that CCR pathway once they got to the high school.
All right, thank you, Libby and team. That's our presentation. Any questions for us? We're happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Dorchester County. So we have 2 more counties, and then we'll circle back and ask any questions that the committee.
Okay, thank you.
So next up, we're going to stay on the Eastern Shore, and we're going to go on over to Kent County with a Tom Porter and Don Hutchins.
Yes, it's actually Dan.
Dan, I'm sorry, Dan.
No
Good
problem.
evening, everybody. Tom Porter here. I'm the Blueprint Coordinator for Kent County Public Schools. Here with my colleague Dan Hushin, who is the Director of Human Resources. Thank you for the invitation to present the work that we're doing here on the Eastern Shore. Dan and I will be tag teaming this slide deck, so we'll dive in here. A little bit of context: Kent County is the smallest county, smallest school system in the state of Maryland. So you can see where we're situated within the state. We are on the Upper Shore, just south of Cecil, just north of Queen Anne's County. We do have 5 schools that serve pre-K 3 through 12th grade. It's the 3 elementary schools, one middle school, one high school. We are a 100% community school through the Concentration of Poverty Grant District. 4 out of the 5 schools, with the exception of our high school, are Title I. And as of last month, we have 14 NBC teachers, which equates to roughly nearly 10% of our instructional staff at this point have earned the national board. Dan, I will throw it over to you for the timeline here. So as Dan is coming off mute there, I'll just say that our pathway toward the lead teacher pilot has been very deliberate, with the initial steps set in the 22-23 school year through a partnership in the Maryland Leads Grant.
Thank you, Tom. I was definitely having a hard time coming off mute there. So as Tom said, we were very intentional back in 22-23 when we knew what was coming down the pike. At that time, only having one NBC teacher, we did a couple different things. We wanted to really revamp how we supported our novice teachers. So we engaged in a partnership with like New Teacher Center. In addition, we started a NBC cohort to try to grow the number of NBC teachers that we had. Once the Leads Grant ended, we were fortunate enough to be awarded the Teacher Collaborative Grant, which was a 3-year grant where we were able to continue to build off what we started. Through that grant, we were able to pilot a prospective lead teacher, which was kind of just dabbling into what a lead teacher should look like, what we thought it should look like. Had some success there. It was one of our special educators who served in a specialist type role, who was able to maintain a special ed caseload, and also really was probably one of the most significant mentors we had, who, you know, joined us in that journey of reshaping our program. And she really kind of became the model of what we were trying to do. So by the end of the 24-25 school year, we had a total of 7 NBC teachers in our county. They were spread out between 3 schools. And then take it back to this past December, we had a number of others who also achieved, giving us 14 NBC staff throughout the county, which then allowed us to finally have at least one NBC teacher in each of our 5 schools.
I'll note there all the image to the left where you can see Dan and I, our literacy specialist, in the middle. The other 3 are classroom teachers. None of them had NBC when we began this work. At this time, they all have their national board certification. And the 2 sort of toward the outside of, well, the 2 sharing arms with Dan and I there are 2 of our 3 lead teachers in this pilot.
So as I just said, we are finally able to have an NBC teacher in each school, but through our pilot program, we were able to put a level 4 lead teacher, 1 in each one of our school levels. So we have 1 level 4 at an elementary school up in Galena, which was where that prospective pilot started, where she is primarily ELA and SPED, and she is truly teaching 50% of her time, and then 50% of her other time she is leading professional development, mentoring, providing data analysis through the IEP process and SST. take it up to the other side of the county at our middle school. We have a 7th grade science teacher who is also following that 50-50 split. And then up at our high school, through the pilot and the way that the high school is scheduled with their block scheduling, she is on a 25-75 split, with 25% of the time being inside of the classroom, providing direct instruction to high school seniors. Kind of have a different story to tell about each school. You know, each lead teacher in each school kind of has their own little story to tell, which Tom will get into right now. But what I will kind of showcase is that, you know, when we think about the spirit of the blueprint and what the blueprint, you know, really called for level 4 lead teachers, the model that we have in Galena, I think is, you know, if you had to carve it out the way that it's supposed to look like, what it's supposed to feel like, that is the model that I would say definitely symbolizes that theme most. And I will say that I personally believe the reason why it is working so well is because of the opportunity we had through the collaborative grant to slowly get our feet wet with this prospective lead teacher pilot that we started 2 years ago. So I'll let Tom kind of go into that more as he shares a little data here.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So we're following the guidance that was given by the AIB with regard to data collection. I think so we're currently sitting on volumes of data, very rich data. It's been fun digging through that to see predominantly how these 3 teachers at 3 different levels are investing their time. So every other Friday, each lead teacher completes a very simple survey that allows them to estimate the distribution of their time spent across a variety of tasks. It also provides them a space to share challenges and successes. Those go directly to me as the blueprint coordinator, and then Dan and I set meetings with building principals to talk through some of that content. We have informal observations done by us, by the building principal. We pull them for meetings. We've held one collaborative where we've had all 3 of our lead teachers together to talk through what it is that they're doing in the program. We will, at the end of the year, administer surveys to mentees, principals, the lead teachers, and then we'll have interviews with the principals and lead teachers as well. So from those, from the biweekly surveys, some themes have emerged, and I suppose we would identify these as challenges. Like Dan said, the model looks very different at the elementary level. It looks different at the middle school level. It looks different at the high school level. Coaching and mentoring heavy, which is where we want this role to live. We want these lead teachers to be coaches. We want them to be following coaching cycles and mentoring teachers in their building. We're seeing that is exactly what's happening in the majority of the additional release time at the elementary level. It leans more towards student support at the middle school level, and then it leans more toward instructional leadership, whole group professional development at the high school level. We are hearing across the board that there are competing responsibilities that dilute the instructional impact of the role. Acting administrator at the elementary level. So we have our elementary schools do not have assistant principals. So the lead teacher is seen as a building leader who can stand in for admin in their absence. 2 of the 3, actually, I believe in each case, the lead teacher supports the SST process. They've mentioned lots of being pulled into lots of meetings, which hinders their ability to be in classrooms with teachers. That points to not enough time, even at the high school where we have 75% release. We're still hearing that more time could be wise. Some successes that we're seeing, we have provided mentor training to our lead teachers, and they are reporting that training was aligned to the work that they're trying to do with their colleagues. We're hearing, especially at the elementary level, that teachers in the building are actively seeking out the guidance of the lead teacher We're seeing in each of our buildings high levels of collaboration with Title I specialists, community school coordinators, and school improvement teams. And in each of our schools, the lead teacher has been effective at leading professional learning communities. So that brings us to our next steps, and I will lean back to Dan.
Thank you, Tom. So, as we are working through establishing our FY27 school budget, the question of sustainability is obviously a major topic of concern for us as the smallest school system in the state, with years and years of declining enrollment. Last year, we had to right-size our system, and we had to eliminate 33 teaching positions. So now, with having an MBC teacher in every single school, actually more than one in almost in 4 out of our 5 schools, this want and desire to have a lead teacher is becoming common. But can we afford it? Can we afford to put one in each building, in addition to our elementary schools also wanting that fully released teacher specialist who can truly function, in that quasi AP role, with the intention that it would allow the lead teacher to really focus on everything that we want them to. Role clarity. Again, I think the role at the elementary level, because of the prospective pilot that we had, is more clear than our other 2. There's also, even with the work we've done with mentoring, some of our level 4s are, kind of hesitant, apprehensive to go and, give that, constructive criticism, because they're just not comfortable doing it yet. There is, things we have to work out that has come to light where, the principal and assistant principals having kind of different views of how that role should work. So there's definitely some things that we have to do on our end there going forward to ensure everyone is on the same page. And alignment, just making sure that the implementation structure, within the schools and across the district is clear, that it's clearly communicated, and that, all departments at central office, HR, instruction, student services, are all in on this together to help again with that clarity, as well as the overall alignment. I will say, one of the best pieces of feedback I think we have received, and Rob from Caroline, I think, touched on this a little bit, is the fact that these level 4 lead teachers are still inside the classroom when they're asked to provide the professional development and the learning and training opportunities to their colleagues, that there is more buy-in from the staff, because the staff is finding more value in them, that they still are boots on the ground in the trenches doing the work with them, rather than, someone from central office who's coming to provide professional development. Not that, we don't know what we're doing, but the credibility that the lead teacher has from the teacher view of things, they're buying in more when the lead teacher is providing that professional development inside their buildings.
Thank you so much, Kent County. We appreciate your inputs. So we're going to come across the bridge to Prince George's County, but I don't see them on. Is anyone here from Prince George's County? I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody.
I mean, I am here.
that could speak to the pilots of the career ladder level 4?
Sure, I will speak to the pilot.
Okay.
Yes. So hello everyone. Again, I'm Justin Robinson, and I am a board member for the AIB. But in my professional life, I work for Prince George's County Public Schools. My my actual title is that I'm a numeracy coach, and what that means is that I work in central office in the middle school math office, and I support first and second year math teachers throughout the district. And what that really looks like for most coaches is, you engage with maybe 5 teachers at a time. You're going through coaching cycles, and then you switch out maybe every 3 to 5 weeks or something like that. However, as a participant in the level 4 pilot, I do teach one class a day, and then I coach in the second half of the day. So every single morning when I wake up, I go to a middle school in Prince George's County, Drew Freeman Middle School, and I teach 8th graders. The best part of it, honestly, is that this is my 3rd year in that middle school. I did 6th grade, then 7th grade, and now 8th grade. So I've kind of been looping up with the same group of kids. And so, we're kind of at this moment at the end of the year as 8th graders where it's like kind of, sad seeing my kids leave. But I really enjoyed this experience. I wrote down a lot of things to say, but since I heard that credibility word, I want to start with that one. Coaching before I was teaching is a different experience than coaching as a teacher. The way that people respond to you is just completely different. I can say, and I mean, part of it is I can say things like, "Oh, well, here's this thing that I did this morning." I'm not saying what I did, 5 years ago, right? And so I think people respond a lot differently to that. But I guess I'm kind of hope I don't ramble too much 'cause I'm a little off guard. So I'm going to kind of talk through my day how it looks normally. Like I said, I start teaching. The hours of the school I think they open at 7:30. My first class, my only class, is at 9:20. So I start teaching from 9:20 to 10:20. While I'm teaching, I have a first year teacher in the room with me. So every teacher in the building typically has like 4 classes. But I have her 4th class. So she's with me 3rd period, for the only class that I teach. And then periods 4, 5, and 6, she's teaching the lesson that I just gave. I just delivered. So we plan together first and second period in the morning. Those are planning periods. I deliver instruction. She's there as a support in the room, but really just kind of taking notes, listening, asking questions. Sometimes I might like do a think aloud with her. I might say like, "Oh, I was going to do this. I chose to do this instead because," right? So we have those kind of conversations while I'm teaching. And then after that, she goes to her classroom, which is right next door to mine. We even have like adjoining doors. She goes in there and she delivers instruction for the last 3 periods of the day. And some days I go in there with her, but other days I'm supporting teachers either in the building where we teach or in other buildings throughout the county. But definitely first and second year teachers. So that's how most days go. On Mondays, I teach and I go into the math office, and so we might have team meetings. We might talk about upcoming professional development. Like for instance, on this Saturday, we have a PD where all the math teachers from across the district are invited to come. They get workshop pay for it's the weekend. But I do that kind of planning work for PDs on Mondays when I'm in the office with the rest of the coaches. And then every once in a while, probably I'm gonna say probably on average once a week, but I haven't had any in January because of like the snow and everything. But we have what are called learning lab visits, and so my classroom is considered a model classroom. And so in addition to the teacher the first year teacher who's with me every day, there are times when other teachers come from other buildings and observe instruction. The format that we use is we do a pre-brief the day before where we talk about what the focus is going to be. Sometimes people want to see small group instruction or they want to see the like strategies for academic language if you have like a high ML population or something like that. But whatever their focus is, we have like a list of I think 8 different possible things they can sign up for. And I'll know that like maybe 2 or 3 weeks in advance so I can plan accordingly. But we talk about whatever their goal is the day before, and I tell them what my plans are for the lesson. Then when they come the day of, they might get there maybe 5 or 10 minutes early. They watch the lesson, and then we debrief afterward. They don't interact with the kids. That's one of our norms. It's kind of like imagining there's a glass wall in front of you and you're just kind of observing. They're allowed to walk around, but they don't talk to the students or to me. They just take notes. And so we have focus, look for questions and things that they can kind of, I guess, kind of to cause them to start thinking. But then after the kids leave, we debrief, and that usually takes about an hour or so. And we have like a round structure where the first round they just state evidence. I saw, I noticed, I heard statements that are very low on the ladder. I won't say ladder of inference, but that's just something that we say in my district. Very no inferences, just like actual facts. Then the second round, we go around and they might say questions like, I saw this, and so now I'm wondering that, or why did you make this decision? So they can ask questions. The third round, I get to respond. So I'm quiet in the beginning, but the third round, I say, okay, I've been taking notes. Here's my answer to this question. Here's my answer to that question. And then the fourth round, they talk about whatever implications there are for their personal practice, and then they can opt into future coaching, like where I would come out to their classroom and support them in whatever goal that they have, or it could be another coach from our office. So I am one of two people in my district participating in the pilot in this way. There are other coaches who have full coaching loads, but my coaching load is kind of cut in half because I spend so much time teaching and planning. I think I said all the things. I heard someone talking about the piloting of their new curriculum. I think that was Caroline. I will say, I'm sure everyone on this call knows the state of Maryland adopted new math standards, and so there's a lot of curriculum writing that's going to happen over the summer. One of the best things about having coaches in the classroom is like we're really talking about, oh, we're going to cut this from the curriculum. This isn't working. Like me and the other coach, we're going through and saying these are things that we're using. And my supervisor, she asked me point blank, she said, "Do you use this?" I said, "No." And she was like, "Okay, if you two aren't going to use it, well, no one else is going to want to use it either." So we're really making a lot of changes in the curriculum based off of our practice. So I think that is all I would have to say. Hope I didn't ramble too much, but
Oh, you're fine. Thank you, Justin. Thank you. And we are going to now come back up on the Western Shore, right there at the gateway between the Eastern Shore and the Western Shore, to Anne Arundel County, who is already in full implementation. And so you all can kind of share some things there. And then AIB committee members, Pillar 2, if you can get your questions ready, and we'll have some time for some questions.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back. I'm Shannon Pugh. I'm the Director of Strategic Initiatives, and I am the Blueprint Implementation Coordinator. And I've had the privilege of being with you before, but I brought two friends. And so, as Ms. Twitty just mentioned, we've actually been in this work for several years, and we're not officially part of the pilot. We did internal piloting a couple years ago. So I'm going to first start with our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Assessment or Curriculum Instruction Assessment, Ms. Michelle Batten. She's going to let you know a little bit of where we've been so far, and then I'll transition to our next guest.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, Michelle Batten, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction and Assessments with Anne Arundel County Public Schools. And I am delighted to share our launch with our lead teacher role, which actually started in 2023, 2024, where we piloted with a small group of teachers. When I say small, we had 3 lead teachers in 3 of our elementary schools. And so we really worked with this pilot group of what does the 50% of direct instruction mean and look like, and what is the 50% of coaching and support to teachers. And so they helped us frame our work that we did in our following year, 2024, 2025, where we added approximately 12 new FTEs. These positions were reallocated from non-teaching positions, and we placed them at our higher needs elementary schools. And again, building on our model from the first year, our lead teachers worked side by side with the classroom teachers. It varied among the schools, whether it was a strictly literacy math focus or a combination of both. And then also with a lens of our students with disabilities and potentially also our students who are English language learners. And so with this model, it was very prescribed schedules per each school of when the coaching would occur, when co-teaching was happening, when the lead teacher was taking the lead role of instruction, and then also being allowed, that afforded us time for teachers to have the classroom teacher to have release time, whether they were new teachers or struggling teachers. Our principals were able to choose the content area. I think I mentioned that. So that was based on their data analysis. And we have preliminary data showing that the student achievement in those corresponding content areas have improved. We are very excited with the work that we do, cross-functional work that we do with our professional learning team, as well as the work we do with our HR team. And so across the board, and it's been mentioned by several of my colleagues on this call, the credibility that this position brings to the school level. These lead teachers are boots on the ground. So they're in the classroom side by side with our classroom teachers. And so they have the firsthand lens of what's happening with students and what lesson planning looks like. They're shoulder to shoulder with teachers planning and navigating challenges. And so really are that daily support for our teachers in the building. So just echoing again, the credibility that this position is bringing to the role. So before I pass it on to my teammates, we are, currently exploring and working with the third year work, and we're going to dive into that in just a minute. But I do want to express, and it was mentioned already, that we're very mindful of our staffing model and the budget barriers that we're having to navigate. And so continuing to implement our model and wanting to do it with fidelity, we certainly want to ensure that we're maintaining that sustainability. So the budget itself is of great concern for us as we think about not wanting to definitely just reallocate positions because those folks have specific roles and responsibilities in the school. And without the new funding, how we create these new lead teacher positions is a challenge. And so we're looking forward to the funding not being frozen in the future, so we continue this great work. Jen is going to dive in a little bit more into what year 3 looks like and how we've pivoted to our secondary schools without having any new resources, new FTEs.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. So a little bit more context. So I did want everyone to know that we have 500 nationally board certified educators in Anne Arundel County. And so a lot of them are in some of these leadership positions already. So that's been nice to be able to lean on that a little bit. As Michelle mentioned, the first 2 years of our work in Anne Arundel County, these were new FTEs. And what a bigger gift for a principal than here's a new additional position. They're going to be teaching some and they're supporting, right? But with the pause in the collaborative planning time funds, which we had a multi-year plan of how that was all going to work together with expanding level 4 positions, we had to rethink it a little bit and moving to the secondary level of identifying some positions that already had a 50-50 split. And so the Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment, Mr. Kevin Wajak, is going to take us through what that has looked like this year.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. Thank you, everyone. Again, Kevin Wajak. I'm one of the directors in Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment for pre-K to 12 programming, and I have the distinct privilege of co-leading the work that we are doing with all of our lead teachers. I will actually be with them all day tomorrow for a day of their professional learning and support of each other. So we've had some fantastic opportunities to professionally grow with those lead teachers and to develop their craft as coaches. What is true of our secondary folks is that many of them came from, as Shannon said, teaching department chair roles. So these were department chairs who were already teaching 50% of their day, managing department responsibilities, coaching within their department. So as a former math department chair, right, I can attest to the fact that I was very busy every single day as a department chair with my, upwards of 18 members of my high school math department, right, in a school of over 2,000 children. And so thinking, thoughtfully around those people, our department chairs are coaches, right? They are supporting teachers within their departments, but they're also doing a lot of other things, right? They are, in some cases, supporting observations, but they're also ordering supplies. They're providing coverages. They're attending collaborative planning where they can when they're not teaching. They're managing their own grades. In some cases, they're also facilitating during the day clubs and activities, right? They're on leadership teams. They are doing, in many cases, much of the work of Blueprint, but also other things, right? Things that are not covered currently in what we would read in a job description of a new teacher, but is work that is required for a school to function at a high level. And so one of the hurdles that we're working through with our lead teachers, but also with our building leaders, is that the hard truth is nothing can come off of those people's plates because there is no one to do those things. They are the person who is doing those things. And so without additional staffing to be able to shift some of the work around, they're now being asked to do some of those things, and right, they're being asked to coach new teachers that are outside of their department. They're being asked to do fundamentally the work of our new teacher while also retaining aspects of that department chair role. And so that balance is really important because as an honest constraint, the work doesn't change in some of those fashions and there is no more time, right? And I did hear one of our colleagues on the call tonight talk about long nights of planning, right? And I don't think that is the goal of Blueprint. I don't think the goal is to say, hey, can you do these really great instructional things for us during the day and then commit to another 6 or 7 hours at night, more than you already would have, right? Because every one of us that's been in a classroom knows that nights and weekends are part of sort of the regular gig. But to ask people to do more of that doesn't feel great. Especially as we look to scale, right? This expectation for our school system. And so we want those coaching responsibilities to be genuine, and we recognize that there are things that they can't do if they're going to be good coaches. And so actively looking at what the difference in a 50% teaching load and a 60% teaching load really asks a teacher, is a really narrow window, right? 10% additional time isn't actually that much time in their day. And I have heard some of our colleagues tonight where I talk about percentages that are less than 50. And I think in a long-term world where funding for collaborative planning exists, we would love the opportunity not only to expand new positions at that 50% teaching responsibility, which of course helps more people, helps do that work, but also looking at that threshold for what is appropriate for the teachers in order to do the work of coaching effectively and well. What's also true is that we are a school system that has one of the smallest ratios, right, of non-teaching folks to teaching folks within our buildings. So there aren't a lot of fruits left to squeeze, right? There's not a lot of juice left in the tank as we look at the commitments that we've made as a school system to reducing teacher caseloads and teaching loads in order to create sort of those positions. But again, with full plates, right? Like what comes off and what changes, I think is fundamentally important. So as we remain committed to this level 4 teaching experience, I am going to turn this back over to Shannon to sort of finalize and close us out on some of our infrastructure. But I think we're growing some of the best lead teachers in the state, probably in the country. And I look forward to continuing to support them in their work of finding that balance, right? To allow them to be functional humans outside of the school while also being the best educators for our children. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Wajak. And just a couple final thoughts before I turn it back over to Libby, who is joining us tomorrow for one of our lead teacher academies that Mr. Wajak is helping to do. We do have 28 lead teachers in Anne Arundel County now. And like I hinted at before, it's one thing to give a school a gift of a new FTE that you can really play with. It's something else to take existing staffing the way they are and add something else, which is that really structured coaching support. And I will say that is, I think, one of our strongest things is, as a former department chair myself, in addition to Mr. Wajak, I was always told about coaching. I got a little bit of a hint of it, but it was really my learning on my own about what good coaching is. But through this model and Mr. Wajak's work and our professional development team, we've really been able to bring in our department chairs who are now serving as lead teachers and go, this is what really good coaching looks like. And I think the feedback we've gotten from those individuals so far is they really do appreciate that level of work, but it has led to that question of, I don't have time to do this on this while I'm still doing all these other things. So we're still playing with what that looks like. We're committed to this work. We want to continue to expand. We have a couple of other 50% positions in the county that we might be able to play with. However, I think Mr. Wajak used funding a lot, so did Mrs. Batten, but without additional funding at this point, we can't add new. We can keep massaging a few things and until hopefully the funding changes for collaborative planning time funds. But we're really excited about the work. We have some great, amazing teachers, and look forward to having any questions that anyone has.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for that information. I think you all kind of addressed a lot of the questions that the committee had, going from Kent County starting with 1 MBCT to 14, and then hearing that Anne Arundel is at 500. So just kind of showing the vast differences across the state, but also hearing some common themes about some of the barriers with teacher shortages, not having enough time to get everything done during the day, and really the coaching piece, which was highlighted across to everyone. So I am going to open it up to the committee. If you have any questions, either from the rolling agenda or something else that kind of just stood out to you, we'll take about maybe 10 minutes to answer any questions. Go ahead, John, start us off.
Thanks so much, Patricia. First of all, thank you everyone to the really great presentations. Lots of great information. I wanted to address it. I think it was Rob and Caroline, and then either those in Kent or not in either or in Dorchester that talked about the co-teaching model that happens. And I'm sort of curious about what that type of work looks like. I can imagine that it can be a little bit challenging as an experienced teacher coming in and working with a newer teacher and not wanting to jump in and do everything for them, but at the same time helping them grow. So I know as an example, when I worked in pre-service at University of Maryland, they had a very specific model where the pre-service teacher would sort of gradually take responsibility, then become the lead teacher, and then go back. Obviously, you wouldn't do that in this case, but I'm curious what the model sort of looks like in that lead teaching or in that co-teaching dynamic.
Rob, do you want to go first, or do you want to talk about that?
Dr. Collins, you're wearing a tie, so you can go first.
Well, I'm not in the school every day, so Heidi, do you mind or Linda addressing that question for John? Let me see if they're still on here.
Sure. Sure. Hi. Where the co-teaching with the experienced special educator in my first period class, we worked together, differentiating lessons and kind of tag team the plans. We meet briefly about a week before, and we kind of go through what we're going to do for that following week. So it's a little bit different with my co-teacher because, like I said, he's been teaching 10 years. But when I co-teach with my mentee, we actually plan the lesson together. We plan every day at second period when it's feasible, and we back map the lesson. So we go through the whole lesson planning process, looking at data to differentiate and inform instruction. And then whenever possible, I try to follow the coaching model, kind of where we think about where she actually wants me to actually lead the lesson, something she'd like to try. And we kind of work through that together and plan it. And then I kind of head the lesson. And so I use a variety of different methods depending on what my mentees would like to do. And when we have time to work together, we do work together on occasion after school as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Could
So
I
John,
add in just one thing that I know you didn't ask? I'm sorry if somebody else was going that he asked. My apologies, Rob.
No,
Go ahead,
no.
Shannon.
good.
So we talk a lot, especially with our elementary lead teachers, about two different types of co-teaching. So there's one co-teaching where you're really there for the kids. And so follow me on this. Like you're the co-teacher for a group of kids for an entire quarter or something else like that. And there's another co-teaching, which is really to benefit and strengthen the teacher. And so we do separate out of your schedule, you know, your 50% teaching could be that first where you're co-teaching with, you know, in a model where you're really teaching the kids, whereas the other one, you're kind of coming and going based upon the needs of the teacher. So I just wanted to throw that in as one of the models that we work with of different types of co-teaching the purpose. Sorry if I jumped in, Rob.
No,
Sorry.
you're fine.
no.
You're fine. And I
Thanks,
think that's a good segue, because I will say part of what has made our pilot very successful is the person we have in the role. And they come to us with a lot of experience and a lot of very varied experience prior to stepping into this role. So there is the different models of co-teaching. There is the idea of, just like you would put in a classroom and you would say, you know what, a little struggle is okay. Let the kids like work it out a little bit. Don't give them the answer. Don't, you know, it's the same sort of thing. But there is the co-teaching where you're there because you are helping to deliver the instruction. And then there's the co-teaching that you're there almost in a coaching capacity. And Kim, who's our co-teacher, or who's our lead teacher, is able to do that sort of almost as an extension of coaching. But I think where this brings us, and you've heard this with a lot of different, a lot of the proposal or the reports out tonight, we've all gotten here through some sort of process. But the process that none of us have used in a full way is with someone progressing up the career ladder from tier 1 to 2 to 3 and then becoming 4. You know, because this is all being implemented kind of, you know, our tier 4 teacher, you know, she literally for us became tier 3 and then 4 in a very short period of time. Whereas as the career ladder is implemented over time, some of these leadership qualities are going to be introduced for our tier 2 folks. There might be lead teacher academies that get developed for our tier 3 folks. Those skills on how to coach, how to stand beside someone, are going to be developed over time. And that just, at least I'm talking, that has not happened in Caroline yet. Just because we are so, you know, we're doing this kind of at an accelerated way. But down the line, that's what we kind of see as far as the professional development going through the career ladder. To be able, you know, you don't just take somebody from a classroom and put them in a coaching role. You know, you have to train them how to coach and how to work with adults and things like that. And so that's part of the continual growth of the career ladder and the continual development and kind of fleshing out of tier 2 and tier 3 that just needs time to be able to happen.
So I have a question. I know most of the school systems talked about funding and not adding additional positions, but thinking long-term range Is the goal to have one level 4 teacher in every school in the district? Is it going to be based off of a ratio of, if I have 15 new teachers, does that mean we get one or two? Or like, what is that long-term range, thinking and planning where we would like for level or how to place level 4 teachers? And I know that's going to be different across different counties, but a school who might have 15 new teachers one year, whereas another school might only have one or two new teachers one year.
Yeah, I'll speak to that a little bit here in like Kent County. One of the struggles I guess we're having in terms of putting one in every building is being that 4 out of our 5 schools are Title I schools. We're also dealing with issues with like comparability. And I know some of my Eastern Shore colleagues have had that same discussion, same concern. But for us, statute in Maryland, although it doesn't tell us, the amount that we have to have in terms of like lead teachers, the struggle with Title I right now is that we have the issue of comparability with staffing. So, just to highlight that a little bit further, 2 of our elementary schools have a full release teacher specialist. Our one pilot doesn't have a teacher specialist, but has a lead teacher. All schools see the pros and cons of both, but unless we do it equally for those 3 schools, that's the only way we'll be able to do it, so we're not in violation of Title I comparability. And unfortunately, I don't see us being able to go down that road because of funding.
I can jump in with a little bit of what we had a multi-year plan when we were considering what the collaborative planning time funds would be, about how we were spreading these out, how we were doing it. So we had formulas based upon how many new teachers some schools had, so we were really playing with a lot of different things. Not that we ended up identifying one magic formula for all of this, but many things that people would consider came into being, primarily new teachers. The other thing that we've really kind of landed on and that we didn't discuss is, where do we identify for the lead teacher opportunity over the last 3 years? That was very intentional. We are very much trying to leverage enhance salary enhancements, whether they be through identifying, we don't call them low performing, we call them blueprint schools, but Anne Arundel is one of the few. We identify any ones you will let us identify because they're hard to staff schools. And so we really do all the local flexibility ones as well. But those are also where, not entirely, but there's a lot of overlap of where those lead teacher positions were offered. Once again, to try to encourage experienced teachers who, by definition, NBCTs are typically more experienced, to go to schools that were traditionally hard to staff. And so looking at the statute of prioritizing time in those places first, and also reading the fine print of all of the blueprint documents I get to fill out for AIB, where it says by the time that the career ladder is fully implemented, almost all teacher leadership positions would be on the career ladder. So how do we get from point A to point B is still a work in progress, but we are leveraging this, just like a few other things, to try to get experienced NBCTs at our highest needs and hard to staff schools.
And just to kind of build off of that last comment, when PGCPS created the MOU with our labor part with the union, one of the things that they specifically said was they wanted to incentivize people to go into our blueprint schools, right? So the school where I teach is one of the more challenging schools in the district, and that was intentional. And I think, yes, we want to incentivize people to go there, but I think it's also powerful when you go to those places and you're able to demonstrate that good instruction can happen and can have positive results. And so one of the things that I've noticed, like I've hosted over 30 teachers in my classroom this school year. But when they come into the building, like my school has a reputation. Like it's not this is not the school that people laugh who know where I teach, but it has a reputation. And when people come to the building, they're just like, oh, And so I think it's important to give access to every child for a great teacher, someone who's accomplished, who knows what they're doing, because they will deliver. Like the children will be okay if you give them the right resources. But what we found more often is that the schools that need the most help are often staffed with the most novice teachers, and as soon as they get tenured, they go somewhere else, right? And so there's this cycle that we have to break. And so even though the district kind of put that in the MOU, like we wanted to start with those schools, I definitely support it, even though it kind of restricts us a little bit. I think it was the right move, because we need to have something to get the more experienced teachers to stay in those buildings.
All right. Thank you, Justin, for those comments. So I skipped over the first part of the agenda, so I am going to turn it over to Libby for I was so excited for any
You're
AIB updates.
I can give AIB updates, but first I just want to publicly say I made a mistake with our Prince George's County presenter, and I gave her the wrong date for this meeting for the calendar invitation. So I sincerely apologize to the Prince George's County team for that mistake. Member Robinson, thank you so much for talking about your experience, and I will be sure to invite them to a future meetings, and I apologize for that. Secondly, I would just like to say AIB staff have had the opportunity to make it out to several of the LEAs who are piloting level 4. And we have just learned so much from all of you. The teachers in these roles are just amazing. They are doing wonderful things for teachers and students in their buildings. And the leadership teams are just 100% behind these pilots and really thinking through, how do we make it strong this year, but then how do we make it stronger for next year? And so just since I just have such gratitude for everyone doing this work, I know it's hard and I'm just really appreciative of it. So thank you. So now you want the boring AIB updates? No, just kidding. No, they're good updates. But does anybody else have anything else for our pilot folks before we move into the AIB updates? No? Okay. Just quickly, a couple things. The AIB's bill is HB 490 and SB 311, Blueprint for Maryland, future revisions. Our hearings are scheduled for tomorrow and then February 24th. A couple things related to Pillar 2 that you might want to know about. There are a couple of changes around the timing for when administrators would need to have their NBC, delaying that date. So that's in the bill. And then there's a couple of things with teacher preparation that you might want to look into. All of those pieces are on our website under our in our outreach tab, and you can click on legislative updates and you'll see our priorities and you can kind of read into those a little further. I just also wanted to again celebrate everybody in the state who is newly NBC certified. That's a huge accomplishment. Congratulations to everyone. I also just want to remind folks that we have a new website and there are dashboards up that are live now. You can look at them by LEA if you're interested. And then just a reminder for everyone out there, if you're interested in signing up for our mailing list, that's also on our outreach tab. We're trying to get more folks to hear more information about Blueprint and, get on our mailing list. And I think that is about it for me on my end. Yes, I think that is it.
All right, thank you, Libby. So I think if we look at our agenda, our next meeting will probably be sometime in April, May, and we are scheduled to talk about any legislative updates. And I think that's also our public comment meeting. Maybe that's in June, May, June. Okay, yes, I hear it.
More to come.
Okay, and there was also conversations around a collaboration with Pillar 1 around some things. So hopefully we'll be able to get those things together for our next meeting. We are 4 minutes early. Does anyone have any closing thoughts, reflections, comments that they would like to share? I'm very good at wait time. All right. Well, thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful Pancake Evening Tuesday. And we'll see you in the spring.
Thank you,
All right,
everybody, for
thank you
coming. We
all.
really appreciate it. Good
Yeah,
night.
thank you.
Justin, I didn't know you were